Hello guys, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be starting to cook from a new cookbook that, while not based on any one particular video game, kind of fits into the world of a certain type of video game that I have played on the channel before. And those games would be The Sinking City and The Call of Cthulhu. And if anyone's familiar with those, you know they're based on the Lovecraftian world. So what we're going to be cooking from is a book called The Necronomnomnom, and it's developed with recipes in mind from H.P. Lovecraft and his works. So this book was recommended to me by J.P. Gadef, and I was very excited to get it ordered and get it here and take a look at it. And it's actually a really cool cookbook. It's kind of divided into two sections. The first section kind of lists the ingredients in a sort of obscure way, and it has you reading them through like they are spells and incantations. But then towards the back of the book we have the more traditional recipe that's a lot easier to follow, and you can actually get an idea of what they're asking you to cook. So today we're going to be making Joe Slater's in-bread pudding, or a New Orleans style bread pudding with a whiskey sauce. So the ingredients that we're going to be using, while I have them all grouped up, are actually going to be spread over 3 different recipes that are going to make up this one whole bread pudding. To get started, we're going to need 3 cups of sugar, 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of whiskey, 2 whole sticks plus 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg or freshly grated, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 4 whole eggs, 1 cup of raisins, or in my case I'm using some dried cherries, 4 cups of whole milk, 1 tablespoon of heavy cream, and I've also got 1.5 cups of confectionery sugar over here, and 2 loaves of French bread that I've sliced roughly into 1/2-inch slices. And you want to make sure that your bread is like day old. It tends to work better in bread puddings. The fresh bread kind of ends up becoming more like a bread pudding soup, where this is going to be, you know, retain its texture because it's been allowed to sit for a day or two. And typically bread puddings were made with day-old bread. Alright guys, so the first thing we need to do is get all these ingredients out of our way and make some room so we can start mixing everything up. And one ingredient that I forgot to mention is we're also going to need vanilla extract. I overlooked it when we were going through the ingredients. So what we're going to start with first is you want to spread your 3 tablespoons of butter throughout the bottom of your 9 by 13 inch baking dish, and I've already gone ahead and done that. The first thing we're going to do is start arranging our bread in rows in our pan and dusting a little bit of the cinnamon and the cherries in between each slice. So I'm just going to sprinkle just a small amount and maybe dot a few in between. This will get a little easier as we get more slices in. Because right now this is just the one slice, so they're not going to stay very well. But I will kind of push them up like that. And we'll just we'll continue to do this all the way through. And when we pour our custard over this, the cinnamon's going to kind of mix in and settle. So I'm going to continue arranging my slices, and once I get them all done, I will bring you back and we will start making the custard. So as I get these last few remaining pieces of bread in here, I would like to remind you guys of the Gamers and Geeks playlist that JP Death and I have going on in our channels. If you would like to be a part of that, it's really easy. All you got to do is go out and make a cooking video and then post it to your channel, and then let either JPIC or I know in the comment section of our latest cooking videos, or if you're a part of our Discord servers, you can let us know over there as well. I hope you guys will get out there and be adventurous and start doing a little cooking. Show us what you like to cook for your friends and family. Alright guys, so I think this is probably going to be one of the last ones that we're able to get in there. I'm going to drop a few more down in there. And I've just kind of really been stuffing these in here as we go. Just seem to have like a little bit of a hole there. I didn't quite use all the bread. I still have about 5 slices left, but I really don't think I'm going to comfortably get any more bread in here. I am going to take a few of the cherries and kind of go back in and just stuff them down in the cracks in between the bread. This bag was about a cup, and I still have quite a few left. So I will bring you guys back when I finish getting all these stuffed in. Alright guys, the first thing we need to do is beat our 3 eggs up and get the yolks well combined into the whites. And we want to beat these until they start to become frothy. So really get in there and be vigorous with your whisking. Alright, these are starting to froth up just a little bit. You take your time with this step. It only takes a few minutes. There we go. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to bring over our 4 cups of milk. I'm going to add all the remaining cinnamon that I didn't use in between the layers. I'm going to add in my sugar, as well as 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. There's 1 and 2. And now I'm going to go ahead and add my eggs into here. There we go. And then I'm just going to whisk all this together until we get the sugar well combined and the eggs as well. So once we get our custard all mixed together, we are going to go ahead and pour it over our bread, and then we need to set our pan into the refrigerator for about an hour to allow the custard to soak up into the bread and get well saturated. Alright, that looks pretty good, guys. So let's go ahead and start pouring this in. Get this in a little closer to me. I'm going to start right down the middle, because the bread has been sitting out a little bit, so the edges are starting to get a little bit dry on me. So it might take a little bit longer for this to soak in. And then occasionally what I'm going to do while this is soaking is come in and check it in the refrigerator and push the bread tops down into the custard to help keep them moist. And you just want to be gentle and slow with this. You don't want to get custard all over your counter. Alright guys, that's all of our custard. And like I said, I'm going to be putting this in the refrigerator for about an hour. So while that's in the refrigerator soaking, we're going to go ahead and start getting our whiskey sauce made up, because that needs to cool down for a while before we can use it. So let me get this moved over, and then we'll get started on our whiskey sauce. Alright guys, we're over at my stove, and I've gone ahead and melted 1 stick of butter, and to that I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar, the 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, as well as a dash of salt. which is about 1/8 of a teaspoon, as well as our 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of whiskey. And we're just going to stir this until the sugar is completely melted. Oh wow, that smells really good. Ooh. So I'm going to actually turn my heat back up a little bit just to help this sugar melt a little bit faster. You just want to be really careful. Wow. Holy whiskey. You just want to be really careful that it doesn't burn and that the heat has enough time to cook off some of the alcohol. Alright guys, I think our sugar has melted completely now. And, oh, whiskey's still a little bit strong in it. Still wants to take my breath away, but we aren't done cooking it yet. I have turned the heat off though. And all I'm going to do right now is just whisk this. This is also going to allow it to cool down just a little bit before we introduce our egg into it. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do, I've already gone ahead and beaten up our one remaining egg. And I'm just going to slowly temper this because I don't want the egg to start cooking before I'm ready for it to. So the way you do that is you take your hot and you just pour a little bit of it into your egg. Let me see if I can get a good angle for you. I don't even know if you guys could actually see what I'm doing here. Move it kind of right there for you. See, this is just the egg, no whiskey sauce in it yet. And I'm just going to keep vigorously whisking while slowly drizzling in a little bit of our hot mixture. I don't want to go too fast or put in too much. And what this is going to do is start bringing the egg up to the same temperature as our whiskey sauce. And the reason we're putting an egg in here is to help act as a thickener. I'm going to go ahead and do just a little bit more. I can go a little bit faster this time because our egg's pretty much right there at temperature. And that looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is bring it over here and turn my heat back on and go ahead and whisk the egg into the remaining sauce. And now we can just bring this back up to temperature and let it cook until it starts to thicken up. And we'll scrape out our bowl so we get everything out of it. There we go. Now at this point you do want to keep stirring and whisking for the whole time so that the egg doesn't separate and start curdling. And if you do happen to get a few little egg pieces that kind of separate off, don't worry about it. You can just strain this through a sieve and that'll catch any egg pieces that are there and it won't ruin your sauce. So I've got my stove set on about a medium heat and we're going to just bring this up until it starts to simmer. Alright, as you can see our sauce is starting to simmer. I'm going to go ahead and just adjust my temperature a little bit. And now I'm going to cook this for about another minute or until it's slightly thickened. Alright guys, I think this is thickened enough. And the way you can tell is you just dip a spoon in it and then just take your finger down the back of it, and you want the sides to leave an indent where your finger went through but still remain on either side without really running. Oh wow. Oh, that's really good. Still a little bit boozy, not overly sweet, really, really good. Alright, let me get this off the heat and we're just going to set this aside until we're ready for it to go on top of our bread pudding once it's been baked. And then once our bread's been soaking for an hour in the refrigerator, I'm going to heat my oven to 375 degrees and let it bake for roughly an hour or until it's done. So I will see you guys after it's been cooking for an hour. Alright guys, the bread pudding is out of the oven. I just took it out. And what we need to do now is cover this with about 3/4 of our whiskey sauce, and then we're just going to let it cool for about 30 to 60 minutes. So let me get this poured over. This sauce is so good, guys. And this bread pudding smells amazing. My house smells so good right now. I did have this in the oven for about 55 minutes. Ooh, we can hear that sizzle. I think that's probably about good there. Make sure we kind of get it coated up here. Get all this yummy whiskey sauce all over all the bread. Alright, definitely that's got to be good. Alright guys, well I will bring you back once this is cooled, and we'll go ahead and get the icing made for the top of it. So I'll see you in a little bit. Alright guys, it's time to get our icing together, and I've already gone ahead and put the butter in the bowl. And I'm going to just start slowly, I'm going to go ahead and start slowly mixing this up with my beaters, just so when we start adding in the powdered sugar, our powdered sugar won't fly everywhere. And I'm going to go ahead and gently pour in a little bit of it here at a time. And it still wants to go everywhere. There we go. Just going to do this on a low setting to kind of help prevent some of the splashing of the powdered sugar. Let me go ahead and add in the rest. And then before we go too much further, let me go ahead and add in our vanilla extract. And we need about a half of a teaspoon of this, so I'm just going to do half of this one. It should be good. And we also need at least 1 tablespoon of heavy cream. So I'm going to use 3 teaspoons to equal a tablespoon there. And we may need a little bit more heavy cream, just depending on the consistency that we're looking for. So let's get this mixed up and see if we need to add any more heavy cream to it. Oh yeah, I think we definitely need a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and just slowly drizzle a little bit in. Probably about another tablespoon of it. Oh nice, it's starting to come together really well, but it's still a little bit too thick for what I'm looking for. So I'm definitely going to be adding in a little bit more, and I'm just going to start pouring this until it starts getting close to the consistency that I'm looking for. Alright guys, I still think this is just a little on the thick side, so I am going to add a tad bit more. I want this nice and smooth, but not too thick. So I just want to go in here and scrape down my bowl a little bit and mix it around. I still think it needs just a tad bit more heavy cream to it. So let me go ahead and add that, and I will get that mixed in. Alright guys, I think that's going to do it for the icing. Let me get this out of my way here. And we will go ahead and bring our bread pudding over and get it iced. Alright guys, let's go ahead and ice up our bread pudding. And you just want to spread it kind of evenly over the top. Just as if you were icing a cake. Alright guys, well this has been chilling for a good almost 2 hours, and it's still a little on the warm side towards the bottom, which is sort of what you want for a bread pudding. I always think it tastes a lot better when it's warm than when it's out of the refrigerator. I tend to heat it back up in the microwave whenever I make bread pudding after it's been in the refrigerator. some of that down the middle here. Of course, I don't typically ice my my bread puddings. Normally I just stop at either the whiskey sauce or no extra fancy sauce on it, just the bread pudding itself. So this is a new way of doing this for me. I don't know if you guys have ever had bread pudding with icing on it. Let me know down in the comment section below. Curious to hear your answers. Alright guys, I think that is going to be about all the icing I'm going to get out of here. Get a little dab right there. I think that looks pretty good. So let's get in here and grab a little nibble of it out and see what we think about it. Oh wow, that looks really good. Grab that cherry right out of the middle there. So let's bring it back in, and if we want, you can add just a tad bit more of the extra whiskey sauce that we reserved. Put a nice big dollop of that right across the top, because this whiskey sauce is really good. There we go. So let's go ahead and get in here and try a nibble. Oh wow. This is really good. That whiskey sauce really makes this. Typically I'm not a huge fan of bread puddings, but my family does like them, so I make them for them. But this one I will definitely be making again. It's really good, and I think it's the whiskey sauce that kind of sets it apart from any of the ones that I've ever made before. Wow, that is really good. Alright, so again, this has been the Joe Slater's Inbred Pudding from the Necronomnomnom Cookbook, the new cookbook we're going to be cooking from here on the channel. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of it. If you give it a try, let me know how it turns out for you. Remember to check out the Gamers and Geeks playlist as well as my other cooking playlists. I will leave links in the description to them. But for now, thank you so very much for joining me today. I've been Vault Girl. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.